gets challenged just as much as your bicep does doing a crunch or a curl. So it can be advantageous for you. One of the other advantages is, I hear this all the time from guys and women who lose a lot of weight in the gym, and they're like, my skin is saggy. It's not tight. It's not firm.
Right.
Well, if they started to exercise outside, I'm not saying that their skin's automatically going to be like rubber band tight, but it'll start to tighten up over time because it's being used and it's being utilized. So it'll actually conform to body. Now, if you're a person that has gastric bypass or a snip and tuck or a suck out, whatever, and you have like 80 pounds of skin, you can only do so much, but it can actually help tighten up your skin by exercising outside. So, and then the specificity aspect that Mark talked about, specificity, it's simply training to do for what you're going to do. So if you're going to do an Ironman marathon and you're going to be running at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then running at 7 o'clock in the morning when it's 30 degrees cooler, you're not going to have that direct acclimation. So you want to try to make your training as specific to your event as possible. So running in the exact same shoes, the same visor, the same hat, the same time of day, drinking the same drinks, simulating the course that you do, training smart versus training hard. So there's less surprises for you when you're actually racing.
And that goes along with everybody outside. Construction workers, people that are going out for a walk. Obviously, like the Crossmen, they're here this weekend for the Southwestern Championships in the Alamo Dome. They're, as we talked about before, they're out in the heat all along. There's you can't play in the bus, kind of thing. So the acclimatize is going on. Obviously, we have people that are watching Ustream. Gary's chatting with us. Gary Gathright from El Paso, or excuse me, Texarkana. Sorry about that, Gary. Is chatting with us live on the Spreaker right now. You can see us on the Ustream. I Speak For You the channel. We're gonna. And I got so many big things coming up with the Fit Kitchen and all kinds of stuff that you just be mesmerized on what's going on. But let's go back to the heat training because we're in July.
Yeah, it's
weird that South Texas, especially San Antonio, is getting so much rain in June or July. So we'll sit there and we're like, oh, we're ready to run, and they're like, oh, it's raining outside. Ugh, I'll go run in the rain. But on race day, it may be raining.
I mean, if it's race day, you're not going to say, hey, man, I'm just going to go bath today. I'm just going to do a swim and run because I don't want to do the bike. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
But, there is lots of cool technology. We talked with Mitch last week about compression and the cool sponsor and the 110% with their ice sleeves and their
you
ice
see
packs.
it on Ustream, the 110% visor right there. And actually, if you are listening to, here's what we're going to do. If you're listening to right now, the first person to chat with us on Spreaker.com and say, hey, 110% play harder, you're going to win one of those visors.
110% play harder. Can I?
If you could chat, let's say again, if you chat with us live on Spreaker, or you email Simon at simon@thefitkitchen.com, first person to do that wins 110% play harder visor that you see on the Ustream.
They're awesome visors. So the thing I love about 110% and one of the technologies that they have is they actually have the socks and the pants and the jackets and the shirts that you can actually put ice packs in. So last Saturday,
we have our winner.
We have a winner already?
Gary from Texarkana has just won.
Woohoo!
Gary.
Awesome, Gary. There we go. So putting ice on your body while you're out in the heat is actually an awesome idea. I mean, it can the lower you get your body core temperature.
I'm looking at Jeannie because we talked about that last week about the ice baths.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, and I've seen a lot of cyclists do this when they're racing or training. They've got Ziploc bags full of ice, so it just literally defrost on them.
Yeah.
It literally cools them off. But go on with what you're saying because I know you're getting into the ice part of it, and I think that Jeannie and Michelle should start getting a part of that ice bath.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so last Saturday, we the Revolution race team getting ready for Leadville. We had most of the team out there, and we did a 105-mile ride that had close to 8,000 feet of climbing. We started at 6:45, and we were riding all the way through to 3:30. So right in the heat of the day.
On mountain bikes, mind you.
On mountain bikes, up and down crazy 2-3 mile climbs, and it was hot. So one of the things that we did is we would get the big chunks of ice and just put them on our quads, put them in our back pockets in our jerseys, just so as you're riding along, it melts, but it keeps the big muscle groups cool. And another thing, if you're super hot and you want to cool down quickly, where your glands are, your armpits and your groin, if you're super hot or you're starting to suffer from heat exhaustion or you feel like you're getting lightheaded, get something super cold, whether it's ice or ice cold water, put it underneath your armpits, put it in your groin, and also on the back of your hands, because the venous return of your blood is so close to the skin on the back of your hands that can actually cool the blood going back into your heart, so that can help cool your core temperature. So yeah, if you're out there running and you grab ice or you grab a wet sponge, your armpits, your groin, and the back of your hands, that's the quickest way to cool your body down is in those areas, because there's so much blood flowing. And I
did not know that. I used to just put it on the back of my neck.
I mean, you can, and evaporative cooling. I mean, elephants do it in the desert, so it's like if that's what works. But yeah, you want to get your big muscle groups and where your glands are.
And I know at the BCS half marathon, they did have wet, cold towels that they were handing out at the different mile markers, and that was really nice. Yeah,
so wet your face, wet all the exposed skin that you have, just let it cool. And then put it, you can put it around the back of your neck. And there's a lot of different technologies now with little gel, like bandana neckties that kind of stay cool for hours. There's a commercial on TV with all tennis players and stuff that use them, and construction workers. So you want to pay attention to how you're feeling, and kind of listen to your body accordingly. And I read another interesting article by Matt Fitzgerald. He did some work with Dean. I hope I pronounced his last name right. Carnaze, I don't know. He's a Badwater ultramarathon.
Oh, you're talking about Dean Karnazes.
Karnazes, there we go. So he actually went in and crewed for Dean while he was doing the Badwater, which is the hottest ultramarathon in maybe the world, the US at least.
Yeah, 135 miles and 135 degree heat.
Yeah, so this guy, Matt, he did a 25 mile leg with Dean. Did already running miles before, and so Matt kind of got the idea of incorporating slushies or frozen drinks. He didn't do it on that run, but afterwards he did an experiment, and he had a control group and another group doing exactly the same work over a 5-day period, and just kind of monitored the heart rate and the amount of output they could do. And he gave the control group just their regular electrolytes, whatever they're going to do, and the other group their electrolytes, but in like a slushy, like a frozen slushie. So it'd be like whatever your Gatorade or hydration is in a slushie. And he found the group consistently that took the slushie pre-workout had at least 25% better output or of work than the control group. Wow. So I know for me, when I'm out there exercising, I put 2 hydration straws in a bottle, and I go through 2 bottles an hour. Yeah. So for me, that's about 400 milligrams of sodium, 720 milligrams of potassium, and about 2,000 milligrams of an amino blend that Genesis Pure puts in there. So I know for me, last Saturday we had a couple of guys cramp up and had to pull out. And I'm not saying that I'm a stellar athlete, but that hydration works.
I'm saying you are.
That hydration works. It works perfectly for me, and it's kind of tried and true and trusted. So I know, hey, if I'm got my 2 straws, in each bottle, and that's exactly what I'll be doing for Leadville. That just works for my body. So you got to find out what works for you, and it can be a trial and error. You do that in training. Don't do it on your big heavy days, and don't do it on race day. But find out what works for you and stick to it.
Yeah, because we talked about many times, and folks that are listening, it's imperative. Do not do something race day that you haven't trained in training, right? So, but Michelle and I were looking at it because Competitor Group has a magazine, obviously Competitor, and they had an article in there yesterday, and I bookmarked it, but the 4-year-old wanted to play with my bookmark, so I lost where I had it. But basically, it was saying, and Michelle's going to correct me if I'm wrong, that every 20 minutes you should be doing 8 to 10 ounces every 20 minutes?
15 minutes, it said.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like a lot.
Yeah.
Almost, I don't know.
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, you can have a benchmark or a standard of where you should start. The best way to do it is to work out what your sweat rate is. And the way to do that is weigh yourself either fully naked or fully clothed, and then go do a 1 hour 70 to 80% at the time of day, simulating your training or rest time, and then weigh yourself straight away afterwards and find out how much you lost. And if you lost 1 pound, that's 16 ounces. So in an hour you burn through 16 ounces of fluid or electrolytes.
Now, how does that? Because everybody's different, obviously.
Right.
Now, Jeannie, how does that for like Boston or Ironman? Have you ever done that? Like weighed yourself before and then go, okay, I lost 10 pounds during this Ironman?
No, I've never done that.
And that also comes into play because we've got the ladies here.
Right.
When Aunt Flo is visiting, everything changes.
Which happens to be always for me on my big races, unfortunately.
There's a couple of females that are just like, of course.
Really? Today?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Today, yeah.
Does that come into play? Is it stress as well? Or yeah.
Well, no, it does come into play. I mean, you have all kinds of things you have to contend with when that happens. I mean, I know when I ran my second rock and roll, I was in the corral and it happened. The gun was going off and people were moving up and it happened. And I had to like dip off to get to the border. Then you're just thinking, okay, great. And it's in your mind and you're thinking, okay, now do I have to stop at smile marker? It's just a lot to contend with. Yeah. And it's probably even worse because, you're out of the water and then you have to figure out what are you carrying in your jersey? Is it time-wise to stop or do you just keep it moving? So it's, you guys hide.
No, but I mean, that's why I see the ladies' perspective because we don't know. We talked about nipple bleeding, and I know I come back to that. But you can go to iRun at Bitters or over on Stone Oak and buy nip guards to keep your nipples from bleeding. Good friend Mitch and Michelle over there from iRun. We talked about that last week, actually. But there's so many things that the ladies go through that us guys, like you said, we have no clue. That's from bike riding to walking to running to swimming.
Right.
I mean, because, you guys have, obviously, Simon's got great hair. He's Paul. But like, what do you do with your hair swim cap? All that kind of thing comes into play when you're doing offlines or you're doing swim workouts. Yeah. Michelle, she just got her first good pair of goggles, I'll say, and she's like, "Oh, I can breathe out my eyes with these."
Sort of.
Which I understand. However, there's different perspective from the ladies from what the guys go through.
Yes. No, absolutely.
Guys can go behind a tree and just use the restroom.
Right.
But in a race, ladies really don't want to do that, a lot of them.
Okay, let me go ahead and give you a little bit of a tip. For those of you who are doing long endurance races, this is something I learned doing during Ironman, but there's typically somebody out there that like on the course that they'll have like water hose or spray or you go in. That's when I chose to use the restroom because I didn't stop not once to use the restroom at Ironman. I mean, that's a long day not to use the restroom. But I would run through the water and I would just let it as I ran through the water. So that way I'm not saying I smelled like a flower at the end of it, but
nobody smells a flower at the end of it.
Flower, I guess.
But it helped because at least just for me, I knew, okay, well, at least I'm rinsed a little bit because I'm gonna release it as I'm going through the water or whatever.
That's a good point because I don't folk done Ironmans or marathons or ultras. If your body has to go, you're in the zones per se. You're like, I'm just gonna go because I did and it's kind of embarrassing, but hey, you've got to tell people because some people may experience it, don't know. I did the Maui marathon in 1970, I think it was. I got to mile 13, and my body's like, hey, we're going to release everything we have right now. And I was going, oh, hey, porta potty. There's not, but there was a water station. People looked at me like I was disgusting, but I was literally pouring water over me to clean me off, basically. Yeah. But that happens. I mean, you see it at events around the world. A lot of times, elite athletes, cameras away from them because they're like, oh, they're going to the restroom now because it happens.
And with the elite athletes, they're contending with it's a time issue. They don't want to lose time because they're a certain goal. But then the other side of it is sometimes when you stop, it's just hard to get back going. So you don't really want to stop.
No, cut you off real quick. But at the 3M half marathon, I was like, okay, I want to be a gentleman. I'm going to use the porta potty. But I waited for 20 minutes in line for the porta potty. I was going, okay, I'm at mile 4. I've stayed here for 20 minutes. Yeah. When I started running again, I'm going, oh, this is terrible.
2:15 time was really a 1:55.
Yeah. Right. Because of that. Michelle did the Capital Coast. It's one of those things, endurance, like Leadville, you get off the bike. Yeah. Capital Coast, there's nothing out there from Oscar.
And it was embarrassing. I would do kind of like what you did. I pour one water down while I mean one and the other one. Whenever I would have to, pour it down. And
it's the way to think. But it's used as a regular event for 2 miles run. Something on horizontal to a different position. Now you're vertical. And I was like, oh, finally, let's get this out of here.
Mm-hmm.
It's same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yep.
So, folks, if you have urinary or